And as Richard Miller got us off to a good start, this is Ken Kraetzer, Sons of the American Legion Radio, a special bowl season recap. We got a couple of games left, but we'll go through what happened this past week in major bowl games and the two college football playoff bowl games. And with us, who led us off, Richard Miller, calling in from Florida. How are you, Richard?
Very, very well, Ken. Excited for great bowl games. The national championship game is left. Oh, can't wait for it.
Very good. And from warmer climates, all of a sudden it's cold in New York. And Jack McGuirk from Pelham. How are you, Jack?
Doing very well. Happy New Year. First football huddle of 2022.
Yeah, it is. And from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama, we've got Colonel Sam Houston from the West Point class of '87. Sam, how are you?
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm good, Ken. Got back to Huntsville last night, and surprise, surprise, I got back just in time because within an hour of my return, we got hit by a winter storm here in Huntsville, and it dropped about 4 inches of snow. Wow. And now we're deep freeze, so we're feeling a little bit like the Northeast here right now.
Yeah, I think it's 25 here. It had been like 50 yesterday and most of the last couple of days. So winter has arrived or reappeared. And so we had a lot of bowl games last week and the two national semifinal games. So Richard's going to lead us off. I mean, we got to go back to the best bowl game of the season in our respects. Army 24-22 over Missouri, a game that's going to be long remembered as one of the best bowl games of the year, and quite a big win for Army. Any thoughts as we remember that game just barely 2 weeks ago?
Yes. Go ahead, Richard.
Just actually the ending of that game. I mean, it was basically, I think, the kind of ending you hope to see in any kind of bowl game that you watch or see. Army getting the game winning kick at the end from Tally, a 41-yard field goal as the time expires. Just a thrilling win and an exciting win, closing out a season where Army finishes 9-4 and rebounding after a tough loss in the Army Navy game.
Yeah, that was remarkable. A moment we'll all remember. Sam, what was your thought on it?
It was a great game, and in the first week of the bowl season, the Army-Missouri game was the most watched on television with attendance, as well as the best attendance in the stadium of all the bowl games in the first week of the bowl season. And it was a very thrilling victory, as Richard said. But hats off to the class of 2022 and the December grads who were part of the team, such as Christian Anderson, because this is a firstie class that put together 4 years of success that equated into 34 wins, 2 Commander-in-Chief trophy, 3 victories over Air Force, and 3 bowl appearances, of which they won 2 of those 3 bowl appearances, with the third bowl game coming down to just a field goal difference against West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl. So well done, class of 2022, firsties and leadership. You've definitely continued to weave a pattern of success for the Brotherhood. And I know that the next year of firsties, they have big shoes to fill, big cleats to fill, that is. And I'm sure that your leadership has shown them the way to continue this success that Army is experiencing. And we're looking forward to next season. So well done to the firsties, and we appreciate all that you've done for Army football, your dedication and your commitment to the Brotherhood. It really has shown in the success that you have reaped on the field of friendly stripes. So thanks.
Very good. Jack, any final thoughts on Army's bowl game win?
Oh, it was a great game, thrilling right down to the end, as Richard talked about that kick as time expired, which got a little nerve-wracking because the penalty flag went up, but it turned out to be a penalty against Missouri, so didn't matter. Other big play of the game that kind of jumped out at me, Army was deep in Missouri territory. It was 4th and 2. They decided to go for it. And you kind of think, well, maybe they'll just hand the ball off to Jacoby Buchanan and he'll just bulldoze his way to a first down. Instead, they call a play action pass to, I think it was to Walters. It was wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. It was a pretty amazing play. And Army took the lead on that one. And from that point forward, I kind of thought, okay, I think Army got a chance. And they ended up winning. But it ended up being a great game, great year for Army. And it'll be interesting to see if any guys on the team end up following Alejandro Villanueva and John Ranigan and end up in the NFL.
Don't forget Elijah Riley, who played for the Jets.
Elijah Riley, yeah.
Elijah Riley.
Yes, yeah.
And Cole Christensen's on the taxi squad for the Chargers. So I think Eric Smith may want to take a shot at it. And I think he would get a look by some NFL teams. I think he's pretty serious about his Army career as well. So we'll see. Cedric Cunningham, I think, is going to be going to have an interest. And we'll see if any others. Army will likely have a pro day, which is an event that colleges run to show off their players to NFL scouts. And so hope they have an opportunity, hope they get a chance. And it is good to see several Army players playing in the NFL right now. It shows that the talent level has increased at Army and the players they've been able to recruit. Okay, well, let's go down and run down some of the bowl games. Richard, you're going to lead us through kind of day by day. And I think we left off last week with the games last Monday, Western Michigan and Nevada.
Okay, let's see, Western Michigan and Nevada. Let's see. Okay, I'm just trying to find my plate. Okay, Middle Tennessee defeated Toledo. Both teams are 7-6, 31-24. Coastal Carolina 47-41 over Northern Illinois. Coastal Carolina finishes 11-2. Northern Illinois finishes 9-5. UAB 31-28 over number 13 BYU. BYU is 10-3, while UAB is 9-4 on the season.
Okay, let's talk about that one for a minute. Sam, how surprised are you that UAB was able to defeat BYU in that game?
I was very surprised by that. I think everyone was surprised. I'm sure BYU was favored. I didn't look at the line. I watched part of the game. Once you get hot and heavy in the middle of bowl season, you're flipping channels between games and you're trying to keep up with the ones that you're most interested in. And I did find that one was an extremely intriguing game. The manner with which UAB manhandled BYU. And I think it took college football by surprise. So I'd have to go back and take a look at UAB, their season and their roster, just to see how senior heavy their starting rotation was on both sides of the ball. But it could be important of things to come for UAB and their success and their shot across the bow to the rest of college football for next season. But great win for them for sure.
Absolutely. Richard, when we head on through.
Okay, number 23, Louisiana, 36-21 victory over Marshall. Marshall is 7-6 at the OA Carriers New Orleans Bowl. The Roof.com Boca Raton Bowl. Western Kentucky 59-38 over Appalachia State. Western Kentucky is 9-5, while Appalachia State is 10-4. Utep defeat.
Okay, let's go. Let's stay on that one for just. Let's not let that one go all the way by. That was a big offensive showing by Western Kentucky, and their quarterback who had a phenomenal season. We saw Western Kentucky score quite a bit against Army, but come up short at playing at Michie Stadium this year.
Yeah, just make mention of, using Western Kentucky as a segue to just make mention again. Army opponents from the 2021 season that participated in bowl games this year went 7-1, with the one loss being Ball State, and they played another Army opponent, which was Georgia State. So from a strength of schedule standpoint, and Army being an independent, I think that the 2021 season put a very good stamp of approval on Army remaining an independent and not going down the primrose path of destruction by joining a conference, because of the variety of the strength of teams that they can play as an independent proved itself out this year. And congratulations to all of Army's opponents for their bowl victories, or in the case of Ball State, you still made a bowl game, and you managed to pull your season out, because at the time Army played Ball State was really having a rough season. So remember all of this for you conference pundits for Army. Let's keep Army independent so they can still see this variety of competition year in, year out.
Well, that's what I got asked on Army Navy game day when I was invited to talk on Mad Dog Radio. I was asked if I thought Army might look at joining a conference, and I said, I think it's no, and absolutely not. May not have said that exactly, but I think Army is really happy the way they are set up right now. It's a little tough on scheduling, but Army is prestigious enough that a lot of schools will move their schedule around to fit in a game. And until it gets to be too difficult to schedule, I think they'll stay and enjoy being an independent. What I wanted to check was the stats on the Western Kentucky quarterback, Bailey Zapp. He finished in 1 year, 5,967 yards, 62 touchdowns with just 11 interceptions. And it'll be interesting to see how he is evaluated by the NFL scouts. That's remarkable. In fact, I'm checking that it's just 1 year, 62 touchdown passes this year for Western Kentucky. He may have a future playing on Sundays. We'll be interesting to follow.
And that is a new NCAA FBS single season record for touchdown passes. An interesting stat that I saw is that from 2011 season through 2021 season, Army football team combined over all of those seasons has thrown 61 touchdown passes. So for reference, 2011 to 2021, Army 61 touchdown passes. 2021, Zapp at Western Kentucky, 62 touchdown passes in one season.
Well, I think Army would point to how many rushing touchdowns they may have had in that span. Running the optional offense, I know Trent Steelman had a bunch of touchdown passes and a few others, but now that was remarkable. He looked like he had tremendous touch in that game at Michie Stadium and came up short. Army's defense held on. Okay, Richard, next one is Utep Fresno State. Who won that one?
Okay, Utep Fresno State, 31-24 victory for Fresno State. The Fresno State Bulldogs go to 10-3, while UTEP goes to 7-6 in the Mobile, New Mexico Bowl. Eastern Liberty and Eastern Michigan and Liberty. Liberty wins 56-20 over Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan finishes 7-6, while Liberty goes to 8-5 on the season. Utah 11.
One more thing. Let's stop on that one for a second, Richard. Willis of Liberty did play that game. He went 13 of 24, 231 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he had a pretty good game for Liberty. Some players might not have even played the game.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to keep an eye out for him in the draft, possibly.
Yeah, well, Coach Ncaa was saying he expected Willis to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. And we saw 3 quarterbacks this year who will probably be drafted in the by the NFL this year. And of course, it was Sam Hartman for Wake Forest, a terrific year. We'll get to him in a minute. Why don't you go ahead there, Richard? What's the next game?
Okay. The next, excuse me, the next game on the pardon me. I lost my place here for a second. Okay, getting it back up to the page.
The Utah State and Oregon State.
Utah State 24-13. Utah State over Oregon State in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. On December 20th, Tulsa 30-17 over Old Dominion. Tulsa 7-6, while Old Dominion is 6-7. On December 21st, number 24, San Diego State in the Cafe Frisco Bowl over UTSA 38-24. UTSA finished the season at 12-2, while San Diego State also finishes the season at 12-2 as well.
Okay, let's talk about that one. UTSA, Texas, San Antonio is going to be on Army's schedule next year. We've seen them a few times. San Diego State, a team that's really trying to pitch itself to get into a major conference. They're building a new stadium. So that's a nice win for the Aztecs. We've seen them at Michie Stadium not too long ago.
Yeah, this will be UTSA's, I think, first visit to Michie Stadium this coming season. The past 2 times Army has faced UTSA, it's been in San Antonio at the Alamo Bowl. And Army won both of those contests. But UTSA, clearly a college team that is on the rise. They are on the right track. They're a young program, but they definitely had the best season I believe the program has ever had. They're disappointed to lose their bowl game, but San Diego State is also a very good, very disciplined team. They had great run defense this year, and as Army recalls, San Diego State and Army in the Armed Forces Bowl a few years ago was also one of the most exciting bowl games that we've had the opportunity to be a part of. So they're both worthy opponents of Army on future schedules.
Yeah, that was an exciting win by Army in the Armed Forces Bowl. Army going ahead with a 2-point conversion late in the 4th quarter. And Brent Toth set the block on that. I always remember him at right tackle making that block. Who scored on that? Was that a Jordan Asbury score? Or
that was oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. The old A-back.
Was it Kel Walker who got that one?
Kel Walker got it.
Yeah,
it was on a jet sweep.
Yeah, right over Brent Toth. I wasn't there. I was watching in an American Legion post. I told the guys they're going to run to the right over Brent Toth, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and San Diego State gave Army the benefit of taking 2 timeouts and setting up on defense twice to give Army plenty of time to set their play based on what the look San Diego State was giving them on defense. So it was pretty much a guarantee that was going to be a good 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and that was a memorable moment for Army. Okay, Richard, what was the result? Kent State and Wyoming.
52-38, Wyoming gets a victory. 7-6 is Wyoming, while Kent State finishes at 500, 7-7. The game we were all focused on, Army finishes 9-4 with a 24-22 victory over Missouri in the Armed Forces Bowl. Missouri is 6-7, while Army finishes the season at 9-4. In the Frisco Football Classic, 27-14, Miami of Ohio over North Texas. Miami of Ohio, both teams came in at 6-6, while Miami of Ohio is 7-6, or North Texas is 6-7. UCF is 9-4, defeating Florida, who finishes the year at 6-7, and the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl 29-17. On Christmas Day, Georgia State.
Let's stop on that one. We can't let that one go past that. A little discussion. That was a huge win for Central Florida. to beat Florida. I mean, it said it's the first time Florida had lost a game to an in-state rival other than Florida State or Miami in 30 or 40 years. Was there a lot of talk in your neighborhood, Richard, about Central Florida defeating the Florida Gators?
Not well, actually. I'm sure there was, but I was watching all the other bowl games because
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of talk about, but I wasn't paying that much attention to it. I'm sure there was.
Wasn't that got a lot of talk in college football circles. I mean, Central Florida is going to join the Big 12 shortly. They've been a big player in the American Conference. Navy beat them this year, but that's a big win for them to beat Florida. Florida's program is struggling. Okay, let's get on to some of the others. What happened between Georgia State and Ball State?
Georgia State 51-20 over Ball State. Georgia State's 8-5 in the Camillo Bowl, while Ball State is 6-7 on the season.
What do you guys think of that one? I mean, Army beat Georgia State on opening day, and then struggled and lost to Ball State in October. Out in both of those games were on the road. But did Georgia State just improve over the course of the season? Do we think?
They
Definitely.
did. Georgia State most definitely turned their season around in a very positive way. And the consensus of our huddle when we were talking about that game was that we predicted Ball State would win based on Ball State's skill positions and size on the line of scrimmage. But Georgia State is a well-coached team, and they came and played very hungry. And it put an exclamation point on looking back at the 2021 season for Army, that the worst and flattest performance of the Army team the entire season was their listless drift through the Ball State game back in October, which began a 3-game losing streak. And a close second is the Navy game, but the Ball State game, hands down, was the absolute worst performance of the Army team of the entire season. And I personally believe that 9 out of 10 Saturdays, Army and Ball State lined up this past season, Army would have won the game. But we just happened to get that 1 out of 10 Saturdays where Army just didn't show up.
Well, I kind of thought Ball State had a really aggressive nature that day. They really played like their season was on the line. But that's a good win for Georgia State. We're going to see them at Michie Stadium next October 1st. And I'm sure they're anxious to avenge that loss on opening day this past year. And so that'll be an interesting one to look forward to. Okay, Richard, what happened between Western Michigan and Nevada?
Western Michigan wins 52-24 over Nevada. Both teams finished at 8-5 in the Quicken Lane Bowl. One game that was canceled, the Military Bowl, East Carolina and Boston College. East Carolina finishes at 7-5, while Boston College finishes at 6-6. On to the December 28th games.
Okay.
Houston finishes 12-2 with a 17-13 victory over Auburn. Auburn is 6-7 in the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. Air Force
is that kind of a big surprise loss for Auburn to lose to Houston there? So Houston ends up nationally ranked number 20 in the country.
I don't think so. I thought that Houston would win the game, and honestly, I thought Houston would win the game bigger than they did. Auburn, much like Florida, had a very down year this year, and Auburn was prone to make mistakes at the wrong moments in the games that they lost this year. And for reference, see the Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama, where Auburn had the game won with 90 seconds to go and proceeded to lose the game. And it pretty much came down to the same type of scenario against Houston, where they had Houston on the ropes, but then they allowed Houston to make a game-winning drive late. that turned out to be the difference in the game. So congratulations to Houston. That's another team that's on the rise right now.
Yeah, certainly a big improvement over their performance in the Armed Forces Bowl 3 years ago against Army. That's a big turnaround for them.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, we'll give Sam a chance. Air Force in Louisville, what happened there?
Air Force won 31-28 over Louisville in the Servpro First Responder Bowl. Sam?
I watched that game. That's one of the bowl games I did watch from start to finish. I always take a particular interest in watching our service academies play their bowl games so that I can give them a fair analysis. Here's, the game was the Turnback Bowl. Air Force and their 6-year seniors getting the win. But I will give Air Force coaching a hats off to the game plan they had going in the first half. They came out slinging the ball. Zeke Daniels had a career day, almost all in the first half, throwing the ball, and he was slinging the rock. Man, he was really making. I mean, Air Force's passing yards were phenomenal in the first half, and Air Force was up 28-14. In the second half, they got throttled, but I will give Air Force credit because when the chips were down, Air Force did mount a drive and they kicked a field goal, which proved to be the game-winning field goal. So they only scored 3 points in the second half after ringing up 28 in the first half, but that 3 points was all they needed to win. So congratulations to the United States Army Air Corps Service Academy. You guys, you got away with your 31 turnbacks and your 6-year seniors. I think you're going to finally graduate and commission, I think, unless you're going to turn back one more season of eligibility. But you managed, if you do graduate, if this was it, if you're definitely done with football, you 6-year guys, congratulations, you got a bowl win. Good to go.
Well, I was going to ask you, Sam, if a number of the Air Force seniors who you mentioned had an extra year would have graduated at the end of the semester and played as Air Force officers in that game.
Well, it depends on how many of them would have been late grads, who would have been December grads. So I would imagine that yes, if they had been December grads in commission, much like Christian Anderson, they would have played as second lieutenants. And there may have been some. I didn't actually dive that deep into their roster to find out if any of them had already graduated. But I do know that all kidding aside, the manipulation of COVID last season by the Air Force Academy to gain a entire semester off for 31 players on your team is something that the other service academies are not going to, we're just not going to let that burn go away for a while. That was real low on the part of Air Force to do that. And it just totally undermines the entire purpose and mission of the service academies because you put football first rather than producing officers for the United States Army Air Corps.
Okay, Jack, any thoughts on Air Force? You followed them closely all year.
That was a nice game for Air Force. They had the turnbacks, as I mentioned. But heck of a game for Zeke Daniels in the passing game. And another solid year for Air Force and Troy Calhoun.
They played that game at SMU, I understand. They moved it from the Cotton Bowl where Army had played in that game 5 years ago. And I know SMU's got a modern, a little bit smaller stadium, but I still really like that visit to the Cotton Bowl. I will always remember that as a neat place to play a bowl game.
Yeah. I'm going to throw in just a caveat, and I will say this, and I mean it most sincerely. I do hate the fact that we have to face Zeke Daniels and Brad Roberts again. Those guys have one more year of they're going to be firsties next year, I think, unless they turn back. They're going to play again another season, and I got to tell you, the only ding that I have against Zeke Daniels this season, because I watched almost every single Air Force game, is that he is a little bit fumble prone, but that's something that he can improve on with maturity. He gets another season to limit the amount of times he puts the ball on the turf. And Brad Roberts, gosh, that guy he's an indestructible force. And I wish he played for Army. I really do. I think he would probably play at A-back if he was with Army because of his size. But he really is, he is one of the best backs that I've seen in a long time play for Air Force. And it is going to be a challenge for Army to keep these two guys down on offense for another season.
And Stan, when you say that Brad Roberts would play A-back, I thought you were going to say that he would play V-back, which in the Army vernacular is a fullback. How do you define that A-back position?
Well, Brad Roberts, yes, he plays B-back for Air Force, but Brad Roberts is only around 205. I mean, he runs a lot bigger than he really is.
Okay.
And he leads with his pads, and that's something that I liked about the announcers in the bowl game when they were describing how Roberts runs. He leads with his pads and uses leverage, and he keeps his legs moving. When he hits with the pads, he hits with body lean, and he keeps his legs moving. So what that means is, in the football vernacular, is that you always heard you can't arm tackle. Well, a lot of people try to arm tackle, or they think the initial hit is going to put a runner down. But if it's pad-to-pad contact and a back has the leverage on you and is keeping their feet movement, the defender's going to bounce off and the back's going to keep going. And you watch Brad Roberts, he gains yardage after he's hit on almost every single play. And you can hit him at the line of scrimmage, but he keeps moving. And next thing you know, he's 3 yards, 4 yards down the field. He's really a good back. And I sincerely believe you may see Brad Roberts in the NFL as well. He's really that good.
Okay. Well, we'll see him again next November in Arlington, Texas. Okay. So, Richard, what was next? Mississippi State and Texas Tech.
A 34-7 victory for Texas Tech over Mississippi State in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Both teams finished at 7-6. Western Virginia and Minnesota. Minnesota finishes at 9-4 in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. 18-6 is the final score. Minnesota is 9-4, while West Virginia is 6-7 on the season. The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, which NC State was supposed to play in, was canceled. They could not find an opponent because of COVID issues.
Okay, that's a surprise. Okay, Wednesday we had Oregon and Oklahoma play, two nationally rated teams.
Number 16 Oklahoma defeats number 14 Oregon 47-32. Oklahoma finishes the season 11-2, while Oregon finishes the season at 10-4. Number 19 Clemson and Iowa State in the Cheez-It Bowl. Clemson, number 19, gets away with the victory 20-13. Clemson finishes the year at 10-3, while Iowa State finishes at 7-6. Maryland and Virginia Tech in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. Maryland 54-10 over Virginia Tech. Maryland finishes the year at 7-6, while Virginia Tech finishes at 6-7 to close out their seasons. In the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Michigan State by 10 over Pittsburgh, 31-21. Michigan State is 11-2, while Pittsburgh is 11-3 on the season. South Carolina and North Carolina in the Duke Mayo's Bowl. South Carolina 7-6 now with a 38-21 victory over North Carolina. North Carolina is 6-7 in overtime.
Oh, one more. Let's stop on that one for a second. Big win for South Carolina. Big loss for North Carolina. Anyone concerned about it? Mac Brown? Folks there have to be really disappointed with the season at North Carolina.
Yeah, terrible season for Carolina. They started in the top 10 and then they dropped like a rock, and their season just bore it out all the way to the bowl game. The manner with which they lost to their rival North Carolina State late in the game. And I don't think Mac Brown is in danger just yet. But as my dad said in the middle of the game, the Duke Mayo game, he said if Mac Brown has another season like this one, he's going to find himself back in the football analyst booth again, talking about college football rather than coaching, because the Tar Heels aren't going to stand for it. And another thing that you have to ask is, what's the future for Jay Bateman? Because his attack defense really, which really played well the last 2 seasons. This year, they just got torched repeatedly. And is it a talent thing? Is it a coaching thing? Ultimately, if the performance is not there year in, year out, it's going to fall on the laps of the coaches. So you got to watch Jay Bateman and wonder about his position. But yeah, very disappointing loss. And one thing I thought that I would point out that I thought was really unique, and that is in Oklahoma's bowl game against Oregon. I was surprised to see Bob Stoops, of all people. Bob Stoops was coaching Oklahoma for the bowl game. So they brought Bob Stoops, their old coach, back to coach for one game. And I think the crowd was chanting Stoops, from the stands, in honor of their old coach. So, that was a great look.
Well, the fact that Oklahoma played well, scored 47 points, speaks well. And do you have any idea, Sam, what are people talking about, how fast this move of Oklahoma to the Southeast Conference might happen? You hearing anything down there?
I'm not. I would imagine that starting next year, you're going to start to see, of course, you can look up Oklahoma's season for next season. It's already up there. So I may just be talking about out of my fourth point of contact on this, but I would imagine you'll start seeing more Southeastern Conference teams start to pop up on their schedule as they integrate Oklahoma into a Southeastern Conference schedule. I really do believe that Oklahoma is going to rue moving into the Southeastern Conference. They're going to find that it's a tough row to hoe every Saturday in the SEC, and the level of competition is going to be significantly upgraded over what they saw on a week-to-week basis in the Big 12. But we'll see. I think Venables is going to be the coach, and he's coming from Clemson. I think I've got that right. And he hired the offensive coordinator from Michigan, or maybe not Georgia. Anyway, Richard can look that up for me. But the offensive coordinator that he hired to go to Oklahoma with him is going to be the youngest offensive position at a senior level coordinator position in FBS football. I think he's only 28 years old.
Okay, must be a smart guy. Okay, Richard, take us through the balance of the games on Thursday.
The balance of the games from, let's see.
Got Michigan State and Pittsburgh.
Michigan State and Pittsburgh, a 31-21 victory for Michigan State. Michigan State's 11-2. Pittsburgh, number 12, is 11-3. That's the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Michigan State is ranked number 10 in the country. Overtime in the Trans Perfect Music City Bowl, Purdue 48-45 over Tennessee. Tennessee is 10-6, while Purdue finishes the season at 9-4. Wisconsin 9-4 defeats Arizona State 20-13 in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Arizona State's 8-5, while Wisconsin's 9-4. On New Year's Eve, Alabama.
Okay, let's say the semifinals. Let's go through the other three first. Wake Forest and Rutgers.
Wake Forest defeated Rutgers 38-10. Wake Forest is 11-3, while Rutgers finishes 5-8 in the Tax Slater Gator Bowl. And Central Michigan defeated Washington State 24-21 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. And the one bowl game that was canceled, the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, CMU
Sun Bowl.
shift to the,
Sun
yeah,
Bowl, right?
that shifts to the Tony the Tiger Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were moving games around, and it ended up being Washington State playing Central Michigan in the Sun Bowl. And Boise State just had to sit out too. What was it? Did they have a COVID outbreak? Was that their issue?
Let's see. Boise State 2021 football schedule. Let's see. Boise State, I believe so. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't see anything.
it says it said the game was played at a neutral location, but it turned out to be canceled.
Yeah,
So they couldn't
that-
find an opponent for that one.
I'll just say that this whole COVID, the use of COVID during the bowl season is going to be a real raw topic to a lot of fans. One of the case in points is the bowl game Wake Forest was in. Wake Forest was originally supposed to play Texas A&M, and they end up playing Rutgers, who was 5-7. And it was very clear from the start that Rutgers did not belong in a bowl game. And I applaud them for accepting an invite so that Wake Forest could play somebody. But the biggest travesty of this use of COVID during the bowl season, the biggest one of all, period, was North Carolina State versus UCLA, the Holiday Bowl. UCLA canceled out on North Carolina State the day of the bowl game. And from what I heard, they canceled out because they were speculating a possibility of COVID within their team, not because they had a big outbreak. So what do you say to the fans who traveled all the way out to California, who were already there, who were tailgating, waiting to go into the stadium that, oh, guess what? You're not going to play? Get out of here. And it made me think about last year. What's going on, Pac-12? What you want to play the bowl games that you feel that you belong in? And if it's not the bowl game you want to play in, we're going to throw COVID out there so you can cancel. What team from the Pac-12 was it last year that canceled out on Army in the Independence Bowl? And Army almost didn't even get to play in a bowl game because of that. You know, Army had a COVID outbreak last season. They played Air Force and they played their bowl game with multiple players and coaches out for COVID.
Independent.
But we didn't cancel. We showed up. We played. So I don't know what's going on with the Pac-12 and this nonsense that you pulled on North Carolina State.
Which was the school, Sam, that traveled all the way to Hawaii, then Hawaii canceled?
Another example. But I mean, the day of the bowl game, you find out the Holiday Bowl is canceled because UCLA canceled out. I mean, come on. If you don't want to play in a bowl game, then don't accept a bowl invite. Let somebody who wants to be in the bowl game be there, because I'll tell you what, Army's a great example. You let Army go to a bowl game, hey, we may have some players that come down sick. Guess what? They won't travel or they won't suit up, but we're going to find enough players to get out on the field and play you, because it's an honor and a privilege to play in a bowl game and to have that opportunity to show your team colors and show your student body and your alumni that, yeah, you had a good season and you're going to cap it off with this bowl game to reward your players and your coaching staff and your fan base for the performance you had during the season. It's just such a disappointment. My dad is a North Carolina State alumni, and he had been asking every day, what night is the North Carolina State game? What night? And it was that day. He was like, Dad, that game's tonight. Yeah, so we're all looking forward to it. And then we find out it canceled the same day. It's like, guess what, Dad? Your Wolfpack is not going to get an opportunity to get, I think, their 10th win of the season this year.
Their head coach, the NC State head coach, he just ripped apart the UCLA and the NCAA over that debacle.
As he should have. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. You know, there's a point where you're talking about player safety, and then there's a point where you're just using this virus as a way to manipulate whether or not you play in a game. And we saw it happen all year last year, and then we saw it happen in this bowl season. And the most blatant example was the Holiday Bowl. And North Carolina State and their faithful have every reason on earth to be incensed at the NCAA for allowing that to happen.
Okay.
A lot of people
Okay.
deserve a refund.
Hey,
Yeah,
just
so
just wanted to mention Sam Hartman at Wake Forest season. He had 4,228 yards, 59% pass completion, 39 touchdowns. Interesting though, he was sacked 35 times. How do you see his pro potential? I thought he looked really smooth when they were at Army this year.
Yeah, he's only going to be better next year, and Army has to play Wake Forest at Wake Forest next year. So I know that after the game, Nate Woody said, yeah, we didn't even look at the defensive. There was no reason to even look at it. Well, I hope they at least saved it, because you better dust off the defensive performance against Wake Forest this year and figure out a game plan for next year, because Sam Hartman's going to have another year under his belt, and that delayed mesh RPO that they run is going to bring the same kind of nightmares for a lot of teams. So Army better be ready. They better be readier than they were this year.
I didn't realize he was a sophomore. I mean, he played
Yep.
with the poise of quite a veteran, and so he's going to have a couple more college years ahead of him to grow and mature, and we will see him down at Wake Forest on the 8th of October, right after Army plays Georgia State.
Yep.
So,
I
okay,
will
what are
plan
the
to
rest
be
of
at
the
that.
games? Let's go on and take care of those two national semifinal games. Let's talk about Georgia's win over Michigan. Not close, 34-11.
Yeah.
Completely dominant for Georgia. Completely dominant. I think from start to finish from that game, they really showed who was the boss, and who, by the way, was top dog.
Oh, you're going to get that one in, Richard. Okay.
There you
Jack,
go.
did you watch that one?
Yeah, that was a tough one for Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if anyone expected it to be that big a win for Georgia. I know I picked in the two semifinal games, I picked Georgia and Alabama to win. But yeah, a heck of a game for Georgia, and I'm sure they are chomping at the bit to take on Alabama.
Yeah, okay. Alabama 27-6 dominated Cincinnati. I think we're all disappointed that Cincinnati couldn't stay closer with Alabama in that one. Sam, what's your thought on that one?
Now, I didn't think that Cincinnati had a chance. I will say that I feel kind of vindicated. I said that the score would be closer than people expect. And honestly, if you did watch the game from start to finish, you know that Cincinnati's defense played well enough, but Cincinnati's offense was absolutely smothered by Alabama's defense and their defensive schemes and their control of the line of scrimmage. I think that Ritter had, 5 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. And that's, not to mention the number of drops that he had, where players were, it was getting in their head that they were getting hit. And you could see as the game wore on how mentally it wore on the Cincinnati offense. Used to a much better execution and control of games, they had none of that on offense. But the defense of Cincinnati, I honestly thought they definitely played way better than Michigan's defense against Georgia. So
Okay.
of the two teams, Cincinnati had a better. You're looking at two lopsided games. You are, but if you look at the performance face to face, Cincinnati had a better showing than Michigan did. Michigan just flat didn't show up, and I feel bad because I picked Michigan. I thought they had a ton of momentum. I thought they were hungry, and I thought Georgia would be a little deflated about the SEC championship game, but actually I was wrong. Obviously, the SEC championship game got Georgia, got the, as you know, just to borrow from Richard, it got the dogs to barking pretty loud, you know, so they're pretty fired up right now.
Okay. Let's go to the New Year's Day bowl games. Richard, who won? Tell us about Oklahoma State and Notre Dame, two top 10 teams meeting in the Fiesta Bowl.
Nope. In the Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State won 37-35. Only Notre Dame's second loss of the season. They finished at 11-2, and Oklahoma State finishes at 12-2 on their season.
What is that? Notre Dame's now lost 10 straight bowl games. They have really struggled. I guess they get. I mean, it used to be said that Notre Dame would be put in bowl games more because of the fans and audience they would attract rather than their quality. But they haven't won a bowl game in a while.
Yeah, and let's not also forget they got a new coach.
Yeah, because Brian Kelly left unexpectedly.
Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman is now the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everybody saw the video he did of his first talk to the team. That was so impressive that everybody is pulling for him now.
Yeah,
okay,
the sad
what
thing
happened? Go ahead.
the sad thing about the Notre Dame Oklahoma State game was that Notre Dame came out like gangbusters. As a matter of fact, they were dominating the game, and much to the point that I ended up turning over to watch another game, or I went outside or something because the weather was really nice. And when I came back, I was just shocked to see that Oklahoma State had come back in the second half and had taken the lead. And one other thing that I noticed that Gundy had taken off his mullet. He doesn't have a mullet anymore. So I guess that was just a fashion statement for a short time, or maybe he'll have it back next year.
Okay, Richard, Ohio State and Utah.
Oof. Ohio State and Utah. That was a 48-45 victory for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes finished their season with a record of 11-2, 8-1 in the Big Ten. That was a thrilling win for Ohio State.
Okay, and now Baylor and Ole Miss.
Baylor defeated Ole Miss 21-7. Baylor is 12-2 on the season, while Ole Miss is 10-3 on the season.
Okay, and then we had Kentucky and Iowa. Nice season for Kentucky.
Kentucky, Iowa. That was a game in which Kentucky defeated Iowa 20-17 in the Citrus Bowl.
Okay, and then last one on New Year's Day was Penn State and Arkansas.
The Penn State Nittany Lions they ended up against Arkansas on that day. Let's see, on that game against Arkansas, they lose 24-10 against Arkansas at Raymond James Stadium, the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lose that game 24-10 in the Outback Bowl.
Yep.
Penn State finishes the season a game over 500.
And there's actually a game tonight. LSU and Kansas State will play in the Texas Bowl. Where's that game being played?
Yeah, that's actually tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah, Tuesday night.
Yeah,
got it. So season continues
somewhere in Texas, I guess.
I guess so.
You were talking earlier about Coach Mac Brown, if his job was in danger.
NRG Stadium. That game is NRG Stadium.
All right,
the home of the Houston Texans.
So you were asking if Mac Brown might have his job in danger right now. And I said, no, he's probably got another season. But I would say, even though I haven't researched it at all, I would say if somebody's starting to feel a little target on the back of his head right now, it might be James Franklin at Penn State. You know, he was the hottest coaching commodity at Vanderbilt and was expected to do really great things at Penn State. And he just hasn't quite delivered yet. And this season was another disappointment for Penn State. And then two bowl games of note, just real quick comments. That's the Music City Bowl and the Rose Bowl. Those two games ended with the exact same score, 48-45. Both of those games had stretches where it was a touchdown a minute. I'm talking like if you got up to go to the bathroom, you missed a touchdown because they were going back and forth and back and forth. And in both cases, the team that lost the game was winning the game and let the other team come back and get the victory. I felt really bad for Utah because they were really rolling Ohio State pretty good. And then the key moment of the game happened in the third quarter. Utah still had I think a 2-touchdown lead, and they had to punt, and the punter bobbled a perfectly snapped punt snap, and Ohio State recovered deep inside the red zone and quickly scored a touchdown. And from that point forward, the momentum changed. But hats off to Utah because when Ohio State took a touchdown lead, Utah actually did gather themselves together, and they drove down the field and scored a touchdown with about a minute and a half to go in the game to tie it back up. And I looked at my dad and I said, they left too much time on the clock. And sure enough, Ohio State in the last minute 30 got it done, got down, kicked a field goal as time expired, and won the game. Much like the way Purdue beat Tennessee by getting that field goal. That really proved to be the difference. So great games though. You got to love it. That's one of the things you love about bowl games is when you see that much exciting and that much excitement, that much scoring, that many players showcasing their talent and skills. Games that you just can't get up for a second without missing something. Those two bowl games had it all.
Okay. Well, it's a good rundown on the bowl season, and we got a couple of games left, but the big one is for the national championship, Georgia, Alabama. Why don't you each take a shot at that? Jack, you want to offer a thought on Alabama #1 against Georgia #3?
It's a rematch. The SEC championship should be a fun game. And I think Georgia wants desperately to really win this game. So I like Georgia in this one.
Okay, Richard, what do you think?
I must say I like Alabama. I like not Alabama. I do like Alabama in a very close game. I think it's going to go down to the stretch. It's going to be a 37-34. It's going to end much like the Army Bowl game did. A game-winning field goal at the end as time expires.
Nick Saban can sleep well tonight. Richard Miller has picked him. Okay, Sam, what's your thought? You're down in Alabama territory. People there must be pretty excited. What's your thought on this game?
Yeah, here we go again. You've got the student going against the master once again, trying to unseat his mentor, and that being Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. So Nick Saban obviously is the mentor, the teacher, and his record against his proteges is pretty impeccable. His only loss coming to the coach at Texas A&M this past season. And I saw another interesting stat. It's been several thousand days have gone past since the last time Georgia defeated Alabama. So there's a lot on the line here, not to mention the SEC championship debacle, which was Georgia's absolute worst performance of the entire season, which has been stellar, especially on defense. I have got to go with Alabama. I just think that there is something that resides within the head of Kirby Smart when he goes up against Nick Saban that makes him kind of be worried about he's trying too hard. And it's much like in The Water Boy, where where Henry Winkler is the coach of the Water Boys team, and you got Jerry Reed as the coach of the Powerhouse, and Henry Winkler's character is all terrified of trying to outcoach the guy on the other side. I think some of that exists between Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. I think there's just a little bit of an intimidation factor, but ultimately it comes down to the field. I think a good reference is the national championship game that was played between Alabama and Georgia just 2 or 3 years ago, when Tua Tagovailoa came in overtime and threw a touchdown pass to win the game. I think the game is going to be very similar. I believe the final is going to be Alabama. I'm going to say Alabama 28, Georgia 21, final score.
And thank you. I think it's going to be just tough to beat Nick Saban in a game like this. He knows how to pull these games out and prepare his team. So I think the thing I see now in college football is there parity? Or is it going to come down to a couple of these teams each year getting into the national championship game? And is there going to be a call for some element of parity? Even amongst the top programs in the country, it seems like there's the top 25, and then there's the top 10, and then there's the top 5. And even if you go to a 12-team bowl system, will that create competitive games? Or is it going to still be Georgia and Alabama at the top, in the final game? So we'll see. A lot to happen in football, in college football, a sport that we enjoy so much. But it's got to stay competitive. And it's not a little bit like basketball. In basketball, gosh, right now you could have any of 50 teams that could make the final pairing in college basketball, I'd say right now. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for our audience for joining us, and to have Jack McGuirk with us tonight from Pelham and our Sons of the American Legion radio team. We're on every Monday on WVOX 1460 in New Rochelle at 2:30. And we have Richard Miller from Florida. Richard, thank you. Appreciate all your help all season. And Sam Houston, really, you got to, you're such a good football analyst, not just Army, but teams all across the country. We appreciate the chance to work with you all year.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, Ken, always, year in, year out. I always look forward to football season, and I most look forward to this night every week during the season, when we can get together and we can talk about Army football. We can talk about the other service academies. I can make my zingers at Air Force Academy, and we can talk about some of the other happenings around college football and make our speculations about the coming week. So I'm going to miss you guys until we reconvene. I do want to throw in my plug for Steve Shalhoub tailgate next year at Ncaa Stadium. I know he's not there with us tonight, but shout out to Steve, and we'll have to get the coordinating instructions in to make sure that we're all gathered together at Ncaa for a game next year, and we can do a live show. From
that would be fun before a game, pre-game show. That would be fun. We'll figure out a way to set that up, and thank our friend Rich Robitaille for joining us on many of the shows this year too. So I just always want to send appreciation to the 2 million veterans of the American Legion and the 330,000 members of the Sons of the American Legion who support America's veterans. And so watch the national championship game next Monday night. Georgia and Alabama should be fun. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to our team. And we'll look forward to that and to reconvening next year. Take care.
Okay.